Hi, welcome back to the channel. Michelle and Tim will be talking about some struggles with celiac disease. So if you're new to my channel, I have a 7-year-old daughter, almost 8, who has celiac disease. She was diagnosed at 3.5, and a lot of my channel I do share about our journey with celiac disease as a gluten-free family of 5, because honestly, when she was diagnosed, there weren't a lot of information out there about, having much younger children with celiac, and I don't have any, community around me of celiacs. So a big part of my channel is discussing that. So I wanted to talk specifically about this because we went on vacation recently and it was definitely some struggles that I want to talk about, some food anxiety it caused me as the caregiver, the parent in the situation. So once a year we always go to a resort water park. And again, I actually videoed it last year to show you how we handle celiac disease on vacation. I'll link that up above. It's the same water park resort we go every year. But this time I wanted to talk a little bit more about it because I feel like I had a lot more food anxiety this year. So one of the things I really used to enjoy about vacation was the fact that I didn't have to plan every meal and figure out what everybody was eating. And since my daughter's diagnosis, I feel like that has gone up even more, that I have to make sure we always have food available when we go places or when we're out, because there's not always food available, whether we're at family gatherings, parties, or just going to a park. We don't necessarily have access to food she can eat unless I bring it. So just prepping for vacation had another layer of it that I had to figure out exactly what we're having every day, because although the resort does have a couple options, it's very limited. So I need to make sure I bring enough food to cover breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks and all that. So just the mental prep work of that, it can be really tiring, and it's kind of takes away some of the joy of relaxing and going on vacation. But you really got to plan, prep, and then pack all this food to bring with you. It's stressful. So that was that aspect of it. And then this year I did plan on us having dinner at one of the restaurants, because one of the restaurants does have gluten-free options, and we've eaten there in the past before, so I feel pretty comfortable with it. So that is what we did the first night we were there. We went to the restaurant, and we usually go a little earlier, usually around between 5:30, to kind of beat that dinner rush, because it is a resort, it's a larger place, that it could get filled up. And then we went in the middle of the week, again on purpose, to kind of eat and less people being around. And then I feel like there's less issues in the kitchen sometimes. If you have less people you're cooking food, there's less chance of somebody making a mistake. So we sat down looking at our menus, and shortly after we sat down, a large group of people came in. And again, this is also a convention center, so I'm guessing it was a conference or something going on. But like half the restaurant filled up, and I got a little anxious. I was like, well, if they're making all of these people's food and our food at the same time, are they going to make sure that there, cross-contamination and happening, slips, accidents aren't happening? Because I think that's one of the hardest part about having a child with this condition, is you're literally handing your child's health to another person. Depending on how seriously the waiter or waitstaff takes it, how seriously the people preparing the food takes it, really determines whether or not your kid's going to get sick from this. And that can be scary, because I don't think, especially with celiac disease, gluten-free is really explained well, and cross-contamination isn't really explained well, and people don't really understand the depths of how it can make somebody with celiac disease sick. So that's always in the back of my mind generally. But then I saw this huge group of people come in. I said, oh, are they gonna mess it up? But luckily that whole group was just there for happy hour. They were not ordering food. But again, when I saw all those people come in, I did get some anxiety with it, which is something I hadn't really experienced prior to this. Now, granted, we don't go out to eat very often. It's very limited, and it's to a select few restaurants that we feel comfortable with. So that could be just being in a different environment, but also the thought that after we went for dinner, they have an indoor arcade, so we were going to go to that afterwards. The thought of her getting sick at that point would be really hard, because one, she'll be sick for a few days. It's not like she's got a tummy ache and she's fine. No, she's violently ill for a few days. So if she gets gluten on this trip, it's going to ruin the trip for her. She's not going to be able to do anything. And that's really part of the anxiousness I get, that it's going to ruin it for her. So depending on how serious people take it, could determine her trip. So like I said, we were going to the arcade after that. And again, I was, watching her. I asked her a couple times how she was feeling. She said she was fine. So again, she was fine with that. To the next day, we went out and looked at all the little shops and stuff. And one of the shops they had was a ice cream shop. And again, I was expecting to, buy her something prepackaged, because that can be hit and miss depending on, the place, if the workers have been trained on cross-contamination procedures, because gluten can be in ice cream if you didn't know. And it can also, if you use the same ice cream scoop, or if they go from one bucket of ice cream to another that contain gluten, you're cross-contaminating it. But luckily, the menu actually had some gluten-free options. So I was like, wow, don't often see that. So I, asked the staff about the procedures, and she was able to get a bowl of ice cream, which was great. It doesn't often happen by us where I live. She has like 0 options. So she was eating that, and then, we went and looked at some of the other shops, and then we were going to go to the water park for the day. And again, I have this fear that what happens if she was gluten? What happens if she gets sick in the middle of the pool? Because this is a huge, indoor water park. It's not like a quick run to the bathroom. You got to like walk halfway across the water park. So I have this fear, so I'm like sitting there, watching her intensely. I'm trying not to look like I am, because I don't want her to develop that anxiety naturally for herself. I think right now in her life, I'm taking the brunt of that, because I'm making the food choices, I'm making the preparations, I'm making the phone calls, I'm talking to the wait staff. Now she does see me make those, but again, at 7, I think it's my job as the parent to be verbalizing a lot of the, procedures that need to happen for her food to be safe. But I'm taking the brunt of that now. And it's also hard because it's not me, If it was, risking my own sickness, I think that'd be a little different, because it's my child risking her health at this point. It's stressful. And I worry that as she gets older and starts making, more of those decisions for herself, if she's going to develop some of this food anxiety, because I know in some larger areas where they have, celiac centers, foundations, they have a part of your team is GI doctor, a dietitian, and then often a therapist, because there are some issues that can come with celiac disease, the ostracizing, the feeling left out, the overwhelming anxiety, the fear. All those things can come with having a autoimmune condition that prevents you from eating what the vast majority of people can handle, and the vast majority of people aren't educated on. So I do worry that that anxiety is going to transfer to her as she gets older. I'm also hopeful that, she was diagnosed really young, that this is her normal too. But as someone who, wasn't diagnosed young, wasn't a celiac, that it's anxiety riding. It causes anxiety for me in these situations. But again, she did really well at the water park, no issues. In fact, she had a great time the entire resort. There was one other restaurant she could have eaten at, but again, this is something that annoys me with food intolerances, autoimmune conditions, food allergies, is it's usually hoity-toity, like high-end food. So it's like this steak seafood restaurant. And again, I will gladly pay you a ridiculous amount of money if my child can eat it, but there's nothing on the menu to eat. She's not gonna eat oysters or lobster or steak. She wants just, regular kid food. In fact, of all the restaurants we've been to, I've only seen one that had a gluten-free kids menu. So that is something that annoys me, that it seems like it's an adult problem, or because of fad dieting, it's a higher end choice. This is not a choice for her. So that restaurant wasn't an option. So I did bring some food for her and all of us to eat, in the hotel room, like I did in that video I linked already. But so the water park went great. I did have some anxiety with it, especially after the ice cream in the water park. When we went to go to bed that night, I was anxious. What happens if she wakes up in the middle of the night sick? Or, she was gluten, because one of the issues is she's never really, knock on wood, been severely gluten since she's been diagnosed. So I don't really know what to look for. And I don't think she's aware of, how bad it could be, because from what I've read, the longer you've been off gluten, the more severe reaction you tend to have, and it can vary, almost, half an hour to days later. So again, I think some of my anxiety is she's not really able to communicate that to me at this point. And I don't know if she ever will be, because it's her body. So I didn't sleep well that night, thinking, okay, what if she gets sick in the middle of the night because of something she ate? And she did get up in the middle of the night, but that's just because she had a bad dream. But of course, when she got up, I was like, ah, and I was like, are you sick? Are you okay? And she was fine. But that level of anxiety for a vacation is really just unfortunate. So we did well at the resort. She didn't have any issues. Food went well. And then we were going to hit a tourist attraction on the way back home, because it's about a 3-hour drive from my house. So breaking it up is easier for the kids. So we were going to this local area attraction that was about an hour away from the resort, so it'd be about 2 hours away from our house. And my plan was to go to that and then drive back home, and we would have enough time to be home in time for me to make dinner, a couple hours before dinner. So the attraction went well. We ate our lunch, in that area, packed a lunch, again, something already planned ahead. But on the way back, my oldest daughter ended up getting car sick. And again, it could be because it was very windy roads. This place was in the middle of nowhere, and the elevation did change a bit, not drastically, but for whatever reason, my oldest got car sick and threw up on herself, because apparently it's not a vacation for my family unless somebody vomits. So we're in the middle of nowhere, and we're trying to find, a gas station somewhere where we can stop. Luckily, I have clothes, and I have an entire bag packed if everyone has spare clothes. I have bags in back in case somebody gets sick, because my 7-year-old does sometimes suffer from car sickness. But you never know, sometimes when we're an hour away and we're at a restaurant, we're, on our way home, I want to have a bag in case somebody gets sick, or if, she ever gets gluten, that she has the option. But we had to drive around and find a place. Finally, we found, a tiny little gas station where I could clean her up, get her changed, all that. But that, pushed our getting home time much later. So when we got home, it was actually after dinner time. So everybody was really hungry, and I was thinking about this on the drive home, because I was like, okay, well, maybe there's somewhere we can stop that would be safe. So I start, looking at the Find Me Gluten Free app and searching the area. And again, this is all smaller towns. There's no options, and it's just really frustrating, because I just want to be able to have some food for my kids. And I didn't plan on, we have snacks and things in the car, so, they're by no means starving. But to, go through packing up the hotel room, getting everything, going to this other attraction, somebody getting car sick, having to clean that up, to then going home and having to make dinner did not sound appealing. But there was no restaurant options that would have been safe for her. So there is one that's not too far from us that is safer. But again, it's higher in food. It's steak and lobster and oysters and clams and all that fancy food that she doesn't want to eat. So I'm like, what's the point of spending that kind of money if she's not going to eat it? So we end up getting home, and I end up just making a quick thing of pasta and throwing together some veggies and things like that. And we had some leftover bread from our trip, so I made some garlic bread. But again, it was just really exhausting day to do all that, and then to have come home and have to make dinner for everybody, because that's the only safe option. I don't think a lot of people think about the stress and anxiety that is, because, if you're hungry, you can just stop on the way. There weren't even grocery stores on the way. We're literally in the middle of nowhere. So it was just really hard, and I want to talk about how that is hard, the food anxiety I experienced on this vacation. And I'm not even the one with celiac. I'm just the one that, is taking care of, the caregiver for someone with it, because it can cause a lot of stress. And it's just, I wish people had a better understanding of it. I wish cross-contamination was better understood, that gluten-free isn't a choice for everybody. But I just wanted to share kind of my experience as a parent with a child with celiac disease and traveling, and what's that like. So if you have any, advice about this, I'd love to hear it. Because again, I don't have a big celiac community. I personally don't have celiac disease, so I'm just trying to do the best I can. And I do share on this channel for those who I think are in similar boats, don't have a lot of people around us that have similar experiences of what you can do as a parent to better help your child, whether that they have a food allergy, intolerance, or something like celiac disease, which is an autoimmune condition. What you can do as a parent to help that child. So I'm always open to advice. If you have any specific questions about anything I talked about, leave them in the comments below. If not, thank you for watching.